and Glenn from Vegas Backyard Prepper, and today we're going to be planting some heirloom tomato seeds. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. A lot of people get the little peat pod pellets. We'll be doing that with some of our other vegetables, but you can also, if you don't have access to those or they just don't have them in stock, egg cartons.
Make a perfect pellet size spot.
And it's completely biodegradable, so when it comes time for you to transplant these, all you do is you just cut each cell off and you can plant that right into your pot. So for our seed starting mix that we're going to be using, we've got a little bit of potting soil and some peat moss, and we're going to mix that up today. Now the ratio that we're going to be using is a 2-to-1 mix. And to make it easier to shake it up, we're using an old coffee container. And you don't have to rinse it out or anything. Tomatoes like a slightly acidic soil, so the little bit of coffee ground dust that's still in there will be just fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to scoop out a couple scoops of the potting soil. You want to make sure you have enough. And if you have a little, if you have a little extra, the biggie, you can always use it for another time.
Or throw it in another potting bed.
Yep. You want to go with a 2-to-1 ratio, so 2 units of potting soil to 1 unit of the peat moss. The peat moss, the reason why we have that in there is it helps retain the moisture in the water, so we don't have to water it as much. So that's 2 scoops. This is number 3, and then 4. And then I'll set this off to the side. And then the peat moss. And this is just peat moss that I bought about, a week or 2 ago? Yeah. That we used when we were doing our little worm farm that we've got going on. And we'll do another video on that. That was just a little quick video that we did the other day. So we've got 1 of that and 2. And a good way to just mix it up, just like that. That way then it's all mixed together and we can get it into our egg carton. Got our little toothpicks here. And you don't have to get all fancy with it. You can just pour it right in. We put paper down on the table so that way, because some of it's going to spill. But you want to get the trays nice and full.
It will settle from watering because you're watering it in cardboard, so it's going to settle down quite a bit.
Yep. Actually, we'll probably just do this. Scoop it out and of course with the potting soil you're going to get little bits of perlite and probably some sticks and stuff like that, which is just fine.
Bones. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, some bone meal wouldn't be a bad
Would be bad, yeah. Fertilizer.
Yeah, a little bit extra, so we'll use that for the next batch of stuff. Okay. So, actually, the pink spray bottle's water, correct? I wonder if you could fill that up for us. Now this here is just like a little, I guess like a serving tray or something. We don't really host a whole lot of parties, so we're going to use that as like the water catch for.
We can fit a couple of these on it if we do it correctly.
Yeah, put them up like it there. But we want to get the soil a little bit damp, so that way then we can make our hole for the heirloom tomato seeds that we collected. Now the seeds that we're using are not seeds from like a nursery or Lowe's or Home Depot or anything like that. They're actually from some heirloom tomatoes that we bought at the grocery store, and we really like the flavor of. Actually, Brandy, you used those in some tacos we had the other night. And we really like the flavor of them, so we decided to go ahead and see if we can grow them and, you know, replicate the tomatoes that they came from. So we have two different varieties here. One, we're not sure like the actual full names of them. They were just listed as heirloom tomatoes at the grocery store. But these seeds right here are from one that was a red and it had like purple streaks heirloom tomato. And then these ones were a yellow heirloom tomato. Each
bright
one,
yellow.
yeah, it was like bright yellow, like safety vest yellow with some, was it
Orange streak.
like orange? Yeah, it had some like orange streaks in it. So we collected the seeds. These ones are already dried out. We used these in our first batch of taco meat we made, because some of our kids like it really hot, some don't. So this was in the batch that was really hot. This one was a batch we made the next night that wasn't quite so hot, so we used the yellow one in that. These ones are still damp. Anytime you collect your seeds from a tomato, you want to let them soak in some water for about 3 or 4 days. That way then they kind of ferment a little bit, and it gets that.
It separates the membrane
Yeah, it's like
from the seed.
Yeah, it's like a little like jelly kind of coating that's on the seed. So we've got those done, and they're still damp, but we'll be able to use those and then let the rest dry so we can store the seeds. Doesn't matter if the seeds are dry or damp. From what we found, I mean, when you buy a seed packet from the nursery, those seeds are all dried out anyways. So what we're going to do is we're going to do half of it in the red and the other half in the yellow. And we made some, you know, fancy little signs with masking tape and a toothpick.
So fancy.
Yep. You know, that way we don't have to, you know, get all those spend money on stuff that we don't need to. Now, the seeds, when you plant them, they only need, for tomato anyways, you only need to go about 1/4 inch down. So we're going to use the toothpick, and we're just going to make like a little tiny hole. Or even just kind of move some of the dirt out of the way. And we're going to do about like 3-4 seeds per cell. That way then, as they sprout and start to grow, if any of the plants are, you know, you have one that's like doing really well compared to the others, you can thin it out. And that way then you leave the strongest growing seedling in each cell. And then once it's not so cold outside anymore, and they're a couple inches tall, we'll be able to take this outside, set it outside for a day or two, let it, you know, under the patio, and just let it kind of harden up and get used to the outside weather before we transplant them into their pots where they'll be growing. And we'll do a video on that once we get to that point. So if you want to do the red And I'll give you your little fancy sign. And I'll do the ones from the yellow. And like I said, we're going to do probably about like 3 or 4 seeds per hole. Since mine are still
sticky,
damp, I'm going to have to do it like this and kind of scoot them in here. And when you thin them out, you want to be careful. You don't want to like pull the others out.
You have some to save too.
Yeah. Now they say, you know, a lot of times you'll hear about like they say to thin out and stuff like that, but even when we were just, you know, direct planting in the pots outside, you know, we've never had a problem, even if we had 2 or 3 plants growing in the same pot. The pots we have that we put our tomatoes in are 5-gallon pot. And yeah, it's never been an issue. You know, we've had really nice harvests and productions, even when there's like 2 or 3 tomato plants in the same pot. These ones are still a little bit gooey. That's okay though. Now, one thing you want to make sure of with the tomatoes love the warmth. They are not a cold weather plant. So if you are going to be growing them in a you know, you're living in a colder environment than we do here in the desert, you're either going to need a greenhouse or you're going to want to keep them inside. They need temperatures at least 70 degrees or warmer to germinate. If it gets below that, they're not going to come up. Here, we keep the temperature inside the house here between 72 and 75 degrees, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue.
We also don't have a lot of light in our house. We don't have a lot of windows, but there are pretty good prices for grow lights that you can get that are just pop-up little things that you could keep in a bedroom or anything like that.
And what we're going to do with this is I actually saw at Lowe's today. It's like a little grow light stand. It's like $35. It just you put this on like a little base that comes with it, and then it's got 3 strands that come up. And we'll show that in a little short once we get it. That'll give it the light. It has like a little timer, so you could set it for like 4, 6, or 9 hours. You know, that we won't really need until the plants start coming up. So this will probably sit in our kitchen windowsill until we start getting the first sprouts, and then we'll move it to a different part of the house and put the grow lights on it. So that way then, because even in our kitchen windowsill, it doesn't get direct sunlight. So now these seeds here, the yellow, we're gonna dry these out so we can store them. So they're gonna probably sit on our counter for those ones took about 4 days, 5 days to dry out. We're gonna let these dry out completely, and then we're gonna store them away. My son Connor, who you've probably seen in some of our other videos, if you could get me one of the small Mylar bags. We've got little Mylar bags, and I'll show you that. They're on the bookcase right there by the printer. No, towards me a little more. The tall bookcase. Okay, I'll be right back. Oh, you got it? Okay, I just need one of the small Mylars. So, small little Mylar bag. It has the Ziploc kind of seal on it. Whenever we harvest seeds, we use these. They're a thinner Mylar. It's kind of see-through. It allows us to see what seed is inside. But it still protects them, keeps them away from humidity and stuff like that. And these will go into our little file cabinet that we have for our seed storage. So what we're going to do right now, before I forget, because I'll do that, because after we're done with this video, we're going to have our dinner. We're going to put the remainder of the red heirloom seeds into here, so we can use these for another planting later on down the road. And once the yellow ones are dried out, we'll do the same thing with those. Now, what you want to do with this is you want to keep it damp, but you don't want to waterlog it. You don't want to over soak it. So move my little sign here so you can see it. So little misting bottle like this is just fine. Just kind of come through, give it a little bit of moisture. That way then the seeds know it's time to start growing. But like I said, you don't want to waterlog it. You don't want it to be sitting in standing water. And you don't want it so soaked that the egg carton is falling apart before the seedlings are ready to transplant. So now we'll just let this sit, and I'll do shorts throughout the next couple weeks to show the progress of it. And then we'll do another video when we go to transplant these guys. Once again, everybody, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel, especially with this goofball. Subscribe to our channel, like our videos, comment if there's anything you would like to see us do. Our email is on our About section of our YouTube page. Shoot us an email, or you can drop it down in the comments below if there's a video you'd like to see us do. And share it with your friends. Let your friends know.
Share our page, leave us comments,
We're
all the stuff.
Yep, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Vegas Backyard Prepper for both. You'll find us. And that's going to be it today for Vegas Backyard Prepper.